That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
I should have said fellow Amblemites. That's my bad.
Yep.
7 years ago, we set out to celebrate the films of Steven Spielberg by providing commentary on his works he never did. After all, he's done so much for us. It was the least we could do for him. This year, the journey comes to its inevitable end. After the personal story of the Fablemans, we'll be transitioning from commentaries to retrospectives for the stories that remain. Why? Because it takes an archaeological dig to access some of these gems, and we got a memo. So, for the last time, let's explore Spielberg's past in 8mm. Go on a road trip with a captive audience before the scary truck gets us, or everything blows up in a comedic fashion. And while we're at it, let's kick the can around a little on Spielberg Month.
Do
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 do do do
do
do do do do. All right, Dragon, I want to set the stage for you. All right, I want to paint you a little mental picture of my mindset going into this movie. So imagine we're driving around a dusty desert California freeway, and we see a roadside diner, right?
Yeah.
We pull into the diner. You know what I see on the menu that strikes my fancy?
The Swiss cheese sandwich.
No, Dragon, a pie.
Ah.
It's a Duel pie. Dragon, ask me how my Duel pie is.
Hey Tiki, how's that Duel pie?
Dragon, it's so good. Oh my god, this movie's so fucking good. Dragon, seriously, this is I mean, I don't know if it's like top 10 Spielberg, but at the very, very least, it is like upper half Spielberg for sure. I mean, this movie, hot damn. It's very interesting that we watched it kind of back to back with The Fablemans, because I think that would be a damn good double feature.
It is, and when I get into the background, you'll see how fitting that really is.
Well, I mean, there's certainly like elements of The Fablemans I can point out like very distinctly, like, you know, directing someone to have a dramatic reaction at the end of the movie, you know, the crash. I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, but yeah, suffice to say, Drag, I mean, this movie, it's crazy. This might be like, you know, because we always think of directorial debuts, you know, stuff like I'm thinking like Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket or Nolan's Following or something like that. Paul Thomas Anderson's, God, he has a poker movie. I forget exactly what the name of it is. I'm sorry, but you know, all these movies, it's like they're all well made, well told, well written. But one of the things that these kind of traditional first-time movies from first-time directors that go on to be iconic, that they all have in common is that the vision, like the true style and vision of the director, isn't really there. You know, there's sometimes tastes of it, like with Following. You know, Following certainly kind of, I think, set the tone of like what Nolan was going to do going forward. Bottle Rocket, you know, very offbeat comedy that sort of had the, you know, Bottle Rocket didn't necessarily have the style of Wes Anderson, but it had the tone of Wes Anderson. But Dragon, right from the jump, and this isn't even a theatrical film, this is a TV movie, but hot damn does it have all of the Spielbergisms, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, right down to like a little bit of daddy issues, just a dash of daddy issues.
He's a dad, there are issues, daddy.
So yeah, suffice to say, Dragon, I love this thing. Like, I can't wait to talk about it. There's so many cool little moments and set pieces. It's just so impressive that this was his first one.
Yeah, so Yes, for me, so possibly the most anticipated film for Spielberg month, in fact, because we've been waiting to get to this one for a
This is
long
hollow
while.
ground, man. This is hollow ground for sure.
Yeah, again, this is very much like we're in the end game now, kids. So yes, I mean, overall, I mean, we were talking a little bit about it way back during Jaws, but this is the Spielberg documentary they came out with on HBO. Spielberg, that one was the one that really got us rehyped for Duel because we got to see some footage and like Spielberg talking about Duel, which apparently Spielberg really likes Duel. He watches it twice a year. I don't know if that's still the case, but it's like documented somewhere. I watch it. I try to watch it twice a year.
I like that. I like that.
Just it basically it probably makes him nostalgic. Probably
Mhm.
makes him like look where I am now to where I was then. And yeah, in many respects, Duel is absolutely the proto Jaws after all. It's
Oh, very
Jaws,
much so. Yeah.
it's land Jaws to the kids.
Land Jaws. Where's your moose jaws, Kevin?
Yeah. See, right
Seriously,
now,
I still want him to make it. What is there any update on that?
well, I mean, yeah, they're planned out. It's the question of when he's going to be able to get to them because remember he doesn't really have studio funding. So
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways,
anyway,
I would crowdfund that shit.
I believe it. I believe it.
Not fully, but I'd donate. I'd kick him $10.
Not even 20.
I can't afford 20 right now, Dragon. I'm sorry. Have you seen the economy?
All right. Anyway, so the point being, friendly Canadians or no for Moose Jaws. This is a unique era of Spielberg. It's him making the transition from TV to movies in a big way. It's the stepping stone. I haven't watched this finally. I love this.
Oh yeah.
I love this. It's a psychological thriller of all. It's pretty much a psychological thriller of all my driving anxieties I've ever had in one movie. It feels like honestly, I mean, overall, especially after the Fablemans, you're right. It is a perfect companion piece of the Fablemans. It's kind of a pseudo sequel, one could say. It feels like Spielberg the boy, or like little Sammy Fableman. It feels like Spielberg the boy filmmaker.
This very much feels like Sammy Fableman's movie. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. So it feels like Spielberg the boy filmmaker on a movie with a budget, but not like a huge Hollywood budget, but like a budget. Like, okay, kid, here's a budget for you. Go crazy,
I mean, they even like straight out of like getting an actor from Gunsmoke.
Yeah. So yeah, just overall, I was very dazzled by Duel. Had a great time with it. Lived up to the hype.
All right. So yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of juicy background, Dragon. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, far juicier than that sad looking cheese sandwich. I assure you.
It was a very sad looking cheese sandwich,
right? Okay, so yeah, so this apparently adapts a short story from Richard Matheson.
Do you know any like? There's some interesting trivia on this short story.
Well, here's the thing. I know that right now there's someone's like doing a crowdfunding documentary, but I think it's more about it's a little someone's working on a documentary for Duel, but I think it's not like what you think it is. It says Devil on Wheels, which is like a foreign translation of Duel in other countries. It's probably talking about the cult status, but I don't know if that means it's going to be a one-for-one making of documentary or not.
Well, I'm talking about the fact that the guy who wrote the short story,
I do know what inspired the story, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. The fact that it was a road rage incident, and the road rage incident took place the same day that Kennedy got assassinated.
Yeah. So
which is really trippy, and honestly goes to show, like, Dragon, there's some themes about just general anxiety about fitting in with your fellow man and stuff like that in this movie that I honestly think it is a very post-Kennedy assassination movie in that way.
Yeah, for sure. So it's the idea of like, kind of a casual occurrence that is coupled with something really dark and foreboding underneath of it all.
Mm.
And of course, remember, the death of Kennedy involved vehicles.
Yes.
He was in a car when the bad stuff happened.
God, now I'm just picturing like how a Kennedy assassination would work Wars universe.
I knew you were going to go there.
Like, would it be a car in another car?
Well, we've kind of seen how that would work.
I know.
In Cars too, we had like the EMP device,
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the impetus, and essentially the writer was tailgated by a truck during the day of the Kennedy was killed, and he basically was pitching it as like an episode of TV. Like I imagine this is probably far after the Twilight Zone. It's probably one of the Twilight Zone knockoffs, be my guess. So he'd been pitching this for a while, and eventually...
Probably like Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah, like Hitchcock Presents, which would have been around this... I don't know, Hitchcock Presents probably would have been more 60s and 70s, but then again, I don't know. The point being, like...
he was probably, like, shopping it around for a while.
That's the thing, so it's kind of unclear, like, what if we would have been the Hitchcock here. And the point being, he was pitching this as like a standalone TV episode, and eventually it landed on the desk of not even a desk. He didn't even have a desk yet. I'm sure it landed on the desk of somebody who gave it to a very hungry and young Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So essentially, and from what I understand, I know it's not the same name, but then again, they changed that name in our kind of our pseudo biopic with Fablemans. Essentially, our Greg Grunberg character, from what I understand, George Eccleston in real life, he had a different name in the movie. The Greg Grunberg character, who worked in TV, who kind of hired Sammy Fableman, or in this case Steven Spielberg, essentially secretary got the script and they gave it to him, and he gave it to Spielberg in turn. Now, to be clear,
really quick, Dragon, before you go on, I want to shout at a couple people in the comments. Little Blue is here. He says, are you guys aware that Spielberg directed one of the first segments of Night Gallery called Eyes with Joan Crawford? Dragon, were you aware of that? I actually wasn't.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring that up, but yeah. I was,
How dare you, Little Blue? You're stealing Dragon's thunder. All right. Richard's Victims is here with his glorious chin avatar.
Still with the chin.
Yeah, he still got it.
Okay, you know what? I'm just going to say it right now. Look, Terry McGinnis, yeah, there's no slouch. I'm not one to besmirch a Batman, but you know what? If we're talking chins, Bruce Campbell. Okay, Bruce Campbell has the chin.
Dragon, do not open up the floodgates on it, all right?
I'm just saying,
Bruce Campbell, I mean, I don't know. Is Jay Leno's chin too big?
Yeah, it is too big.
All right, fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. Bruce Campbell has that's the perfect chin.
all right, but okay. Anyways,
anyway, my point.
But yeah, this is his first. This is basically his first feature film at all.
Well, here's what happened. So Spielberg had this. Okay, so ultimately, Duel, once it was optioned and once it was approved and everything, and remember the writer also translated his own script, which is rare. It was supposed to be like one of ABC's a movie of the week sort of deals. All right, so it's a TV movie. Now Spielberg had done at least one TV movie up to this point as part of, I believe, the same series or something. I don't know if it's like another ABC a movie of the week sort of thing or not. But he had done one TV movie, and before that, though, again, he did get his start, as Little Blue said, in the Night Gallery stuff with Joan Crawford, which is a huge thing of like, oh god, the boys just started. He's directing Joan Crawford.
Did he ever actually do Hogan's Heroes?
I would not. He did Columbo, so I don't know if Hogan's Heroes was a fill-in for Columbo or not.
Do you think Hogan's Heroes was possibly like a little nod to 1941?
I mean, honestly,
World War II comedy.
Yeah, it'd be honestly, Tiki, it would be worth a Google to find out if Spielberg did in fact do Hogan's Heroes. Otherwise, it would probably be a nod to 1941. That's how you probably verify.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so point being, the Spielberg, he's still very green here, and this thing ultimately got turned. It came out as a TV movie, but later, because it did so well, they released it theatrically. So it was technically Spielberg's first theatrical release, but not.
No, he did not direct Hogan's Heroes at all.
Well, there we go. It's probably not the 1941.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so probably not the 1941, but also probably like a fill-in for the other things that he directed. I don't know if it was a rights issue or what. So Columbo is the main thing he had done at this. He did Columbo right before this.
And also, Little Blue, you're pointing out Sugarland Express. I believe that was his first.
Yeah, that was full-on feature.
Yeah, that was his first theatrical feature film. Yeah,
this is something that got turned into theatricals. That's the thing. There was an extended cut of this that essentially became the theatrical cut, but they released it for like a TV time limit, so they cut out a lot of the stuff for the TV airing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, it was kind of shot theatrically, but again, it was on a TV budget though, so bear that in mind. So you're right. Sugarland is the first actual theatrical debut, but still is the first kind of like real feature, at the very least the one that kind of like that took off for him. All right, let's see. So, okay, so much like Jaws, when they're shooting this, Spielberg wanted to go. He wanted to go on location, which is kind of unheard of. Not to say you can't shoot on highways or anything, but to say that ordinarily when you do a movie like this, you're gonna shoot in like it's like the thing we do in movies and TV all the time. You have like a car that's cut in half so the camera can go in there. We got like a rear projection screen, all that sort of stuff. So you shoot inside the studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here he wanted to go. The man's just begging for the hard stuff to do here. He wants to shoot Jaws on the water, which is unheard of. He wants to shoot all the car scenes actually in the hot cars in the hot sun. And they shot pretty much on location with all the all the highways and everything. Like the road stops are real. Like pretty much everything. I don't know about the stand with the snakes. That one may or may not have been created, but everything else was absolutely real.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so they did like a little test because they said,
the stand honestly feels real.
It does, doesn't it?
Especially because I've been down those California highways, and I can verify there are like weird little tourist trap snake, like reptile farms and stuff.
Do you think they let them throw the cages around and everything though? That's
the thing. That's the thing. I think it was a real location, but my guess is they probably made a couple extra cages or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're probably like, I'm going back to the Fablemans thing of like, Mr. Fableman, like my snakes. Like, no, your snakes are fine. Okay, your
oh God, now I'm just picturing like Paul Dano in the background of the scene, just trying to wrangle the snakes. God.
Anyway,
Richard's Victims. Yes, we did do Schindler's List. Yeah. That Richard's Victims, the first time the day that we did Schindler's List was literally the first time I watched it. So literally 6 hours of my life was spent watching Schindler's List back to back, once to watch it and then immediately afterwards to do a commentary. That was rough.
Yeah, but it did have some happy moments.
It did have Oscar Schindler.
It's Oscar Schindler.
All right.
Yeah. And we're bringing him cake on his birthday. We had a few happy moments. Anyway, so the point being they struck a deal. Okay, look, I'll give you 3 days to shoot it on location. When it backfires, then we'll shoot it the way it's supposed to be. But they loved it, and then so ended up with a 13-day kind of shooting time at 3 days added. Because, in TV usually like 8 days, like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, it's like an 8-day kind of shoot. So, with TV, we get a few extra days. So, anyway. They used the camera car from Bullet. Spielberg, he wanted a red car. He didn't really care about the maker model of the red car. It just needs to be red so it stands out.
Right.
To show you how green it was. But they knew they needed the Peterbilt truck, though. They needed because it had the distinct face.
So that truck, I'm sure there's an interesting story about how they got a hold of that truck.
Well, it's more interesting story of what happened when shooting with this truck, Tiki. That's where the story really gets interesting. I'm going to save that for later, though.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can tell you now if you want. I mean, do you want to know now?
No. If you want to build to it, by all means, build to it. We don't have to get all the back. I mean, the thing is with this movie, it's like I feel like a lot of the background is kind of like quintessential to like the heart of the movie. So
yeah, there's kind of really cool nuggets of background that kind of sprinkled through.
Right. So by all means, if you want to save some of it for the actual conversation, that's totally fine in this case.
So let me tell you this though. So Billy Goldenberg. He did the score on this. Now, this was kind of his regular composer from this TV stuff. This is the TV era Spielberg before John Williams entered the fray. It's a rare period, kids.
Jaws was the first John Williams, right?
What do you mean?
The first Spielberg collaboration.
What I'm saying, this guy, he had done like a few of the TV movies and stuff. I guess theatrically, I'm trying to remember. I don't know who did the score on Sugarland Express, but other than that, I believe, yes, it was John Williams onward.
Okay.
Well, obviously then towards the end, we had a few of the like spare ones like towards the end that did not have John Williams for extenuating circumstances. But on the whole,
Williams did not do the score to West Side Story.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's see. The point we had this guy, but here's a challenge though for this movie, this production, because it's a TV movie. He had to score. This is unheard of. Like Young Ones would never do this. He had to score this while they were filming, as in not like after the thing's made and then add the score in there like Star Wars. Like no. We got to do the score while you're filming, or else it's
That's
not going to get
crazy.
done. Yeah. So
Now I'm just picturing, like, I know this isn't actually what you mean, but I'm just picturing, like, the orchestra actually being on the set. Like, all right, guys, we got to sync this up.
God. Anyway, okay, so the film was released as the ABC Movie of the Week, 75 minutes. It did so well. They released the full theatrical cut, which had a number of really, honestly, almost all the standout sequences in the movie were in the theatrical cut, not the TV movie. Believe it or not. It was
Okay, the diner scene.
Okay, that one actually was in both.
Oh, was it? Okay, that is my favorite scene in the film.
I've seen a few of the more standalone sequences. That's like a whole. That's more of a whole sequence, like more of the standalone scenes, I guess. Or I don't know. I guess I don't know how you maybe quantify it, but a lot of the standout stuff, with the exception of the diner, was kind of added in there. So it so ultimately, this thing apparently.
Williams did do the music for Sugarland. Okay.
Well, there you go. I guess he's there from the beginning then. All right.
I am actually genuinely really. I know next to nothing about Sugarland Express. I'm fascinated to get to that one. Like, this is the one that I was obviously the most excited about from like a conceptual level. But I think Sugarland might be the one I'm most excited about just from like, I do not know what the hell to expect.
Honestly, you know what I'm most excited for Sugarland? I want to see how Bill Atherton does as like a lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Walter Peck, man. We always see him in like the ancillary, like, oh, he's the snooty guy. We always got to laugh at.
So speaking of leads, do you have any? I'm sorry if I'm skipping ahead a little, but do you have any notes on Dennis Weaver and how he got cast?
Well, I mean, all I can tell you, all I can really tell you about Dennis Weaver is that he was cast because Spielberg, as many of us are Orson Welles fans, and he basically cast him for Touch of Evil. Which, I mean, Touch of Evil, if I recall, does have the amazing car shot at the top of it. So
wait, it wasn't Gunsmoke?
Well, I mean, that's the main. That was one of the things he cast him for. I believe that's the main reason why he cast him. But he wasn't. Spielberg was working in TV, and he probably did. I think Spielberg did episodes of Gunsmoke. I think I could be wrong about that. That's another thing you might want to like fact check. But regardless, he might have been on the lot. It might have been a thing like, "Oh, I saw you in Touch of Evil, Dennis Weaver. Please do my movie."
So wait, if that's the case, was the timeline on Spielberg like on Sammy Fableman doing Gunsmog? Was that just like a flub?
Well, let's see.
Hold on, I'm Googling.
Well, the question all the titles of the things are.
I'm pretty sure Gunsmoke was more 50s.
Well, that's the thing. If Gunsmoke was 50s, then it does line up because this is 70s, Tiki. So yeah, Gunsmog and everything would have been from Gunsmoke. So it's probably. Yeah.
It was 55, and Jesus Christ, it went on for 20 seasons.
Oh, there you go then.
Wow.
So I mean, I can't say how serendipitous the event was. All I know is, he did Touch of Evil, but he also did Gunsmoke, and surely Spielberg had an influence of Gunsmoke in him. So maybe I imagine maybe he got starstruck, and probably I imagine it was like a thing where he was on the lot. It's probably like a similar thing. Like working in TV, he brushed up against him like, "Hey, I'm doing a movie. You want to be in it?" Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, anyways, this movie turns out to be a cult classic. People always visit like the locations, like the tunnel and stuff that were in the movie, and the diner, which is real. Again, like all the roadside kind of moments. And basically, I think it's heralded as like one of the best TV movies ever made because again, it's the TV movie that launched Spielberg's career. It's a very exceptionally shot TV movie compared to TV movie standards, especially at that time. So yeah.
All right, cool. Richard's Victims. If his next movie was Duel 2, that I would be so excited about that. Seriously, if he did a modern day Duel, oh God. Although I don't know, it'd probably that's the thing. Is with modern day, I mean, the reason why this movie hits as well as it does is because it's all practical, baby.
I have some practical facts that will knock your socks off. You won't believe me if I tell you.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, let's break it down. So here's something interesting. So the opening, the whole car POV thing, or in the POV of the red car. So this actually was one of the things the writer used to sell the script. He did a proof of concept thing where I'm not saying they used the exact same footage here, but again, it's based off the footage that he basically did POV shots of his car driving from point A to point B to kind of like get a feel for the movie. And basically, and this is part of the extended cut. I forget if there was like any of this in the TV version, but in the extended version, they basically made this they added this in there. It's this whole sequence for the opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's a nice little thing. Kind of sets the tone of like, it's really cars are going to be personified, or at the very least one of them really is, and we're kind of like in our they're playing with perspectives a lot in this.
Dude, how fun would it be if one of those like stupid cars on the road shorts was literally just a parody of this?
Well, there was like a dual joke in that Animaniacs reboot, right?
Was there?
Yeah, Pinky and the Brain. They called out Duel. It's kind of funny. Right.
Okay, so, Richard's Victims, really quick, he has a question. Do you think any modern director right now will ever have the Spielberg legacy in the future? I think the tricky thing about that question is that a lot of like the most iconic like niche directors working right now, like the auteurs, if you will, they all have such a distinct like personal style to them. Like, like Wes Anderson, Nolan, people like that. I don't know why those two just keep coming to mind.
Well, I mean, Nolan's got a movie coming out, and so does
Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson also.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They both have movies coming out very soon. That's why they're on your mind.
Right. But David Fincher. Like I feel like all these people, like they all kind of cater to a very certain niche, and I feel like Spielberg's legacy is that he could pretty much do anything.
But you know what it also is, though? It's like, for example, even though he's not a lauded director on the same caliber as Spielberg, Kevin Smith, in a similar way, is a director that we know intimately like we know Spielberg. So in a sense, there's kind of a legacy factor like a Spielberg in terms of like we know Spielberg through his films very intimately, and we know
I love Kevin Smith, Dragon, but
I told you I'm not comparing the quality. I'm not comparing the quality. I'm comparing the filmmaker.
I could see that. I could see that.
Just in terms of how intimately
Kevin Smith is very much kind of like the geek culture slacker Spielberg.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, when I think of, Nolan's my go-to in terms of a guy with a style and a name that you recognize when you hear it, like Nolan.
You know what? Little Blue. You say M. Night Shyamalan was called the next Spielberg. I am going to throw out this guy. It could very easily go the Shyamalan route depending on how the rest of his career turns out. But I think based on his first three movies, especially because his last movie was very Spielbergian and showed that he could do more than horror, Jordan Peele.
I mean, look, I'm not obviously not the same success rate here. I mean, Jordan Peele's
well, he's very early into his career.
No, I was about to mention someone else, but yes, yeah. Jordan Peele's a really good pick, though. I was going to say, he's like, I don't know, James Gunn's had kind of a very interesting trajectory.
James Gunn's an interesting one. I could, we just don't, the DC thing, man, I worry. I don't worry. By all means, I don't worry that I know he's going to make good movies. I just worry that the fans are going to eat him alive.
I don't know. It's the fact that you have directors that have a thing where you really get to know them through their work. They have a style. I mean, you have like a Sam Raimi. You have like a, these are the guys we know at least. Or I think Del Toro does have a shoulder in terms of he's got.
Del Toro's a good one.
Yeah,
that's
Del Toro,
a good one. Yeah,
honestly, for me, Del Toro is like the filmmaker. When I hear his name, I get excited like I would.
I could see that. I could see that, especially because he's still got a lot to do. God willing, his health keeps up and everything. He's got a lot of movies left in him.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we'll have to see how the Indiana Jones movie turns out. Mangold.
Well,
I said we'll see. We'll see.
I'm also not that big of a fan of the Ford versus Ferrari.
I like Ford. Well, that's just you, though.
Most people like that movie. I just couldn't get into it. Anyways. Okay, remember when Spielberg did the best he could bringing one of the Stanley Kubrick's projects to life? Yes, it was horrifying. No offense. AI is seriously, Little Blue, I have genuine childhood trauma surrounding the specifically the swimming pool scene of AI.
Oh, that spinach gag.
Oh my god. Okay, let's get back on track.
All right, thank you. So, Dennis
Okay.
Weaver, he looks like Stan Lee, doesn't he?
Oh my god, he totally does now that you mention it.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Dennis Weaver because I actually did a little bit of digging into
Sure.
his Gunsmoke role, Dragon, and it's actually really interesting because he was an actor. He left Gunsmoke because he didn't want to get typecast as cowboys, and unfortunately, that's kind of like exactly what happened to him in his career. But his role on Gunsmoke is very interesting from what I've been looking into it because from what I could tell, his role seemed to be basically like he was like a Barney Fife kind of deputy, and he was sort of like I got the sense based on what I was looking into that he was kind of like the comic relief. Like there were running gags where he would go into like like big monologues about how much he loved coffee and breakfast and stuff like that. Like he seemed to be like a foodie essentially. So he was a little bit dopey in that regard, but there were also some really big moments with him. Like I got the sense he was a comic relief character that had some dramatic heft to him. And also, Dragon, did you know that the sheriff in Gunsmoke, his name is Matt Dillon?
I did not know that.
I'm not joking. And so all these clips I'm watching of Dennis Weaver, he's always like, Mr. Dillon, Mr. Dillon. All right. Okay, Dragon, let's get back on track. So yes, Dennis Weaver, I bring up Gunsmoke because like he was very typecast into the cowboy role, but I feel like he does such a damn good job is like the everyman pushed to his limits in this movie, and it's so unlike his Gunsmoke role.
Yeah, it really is because we're seeing like a guy with kind of he's not the traditional hero here. He's more the everyman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something does occur to me with the Stan Lee comparison. What would be the best remake or parody of Duel? Okay, like almost like a Robot Chicken sketch.
Oh God, what?
If you did have, you have Stan Lee, like the Marvel version of the Marvel remake of Duel, where you have Stan Lee and you have the truck is the truck from that Stephen King movie with the Green Goblin face on it.
Oh my God! Oh no!
But it's played serious. It's still Duel. Everything about it's Duel, but it's the Green Goblin's face.
And Stan Lee.
Yes, Green Goblin's face and Stan Lee, and he's
right.
He's calling. He had a fight with Joan at the start. Okay, so speaking of which, let's have some daddy issues or some papa.
Yeah,
problems.
we get a little sprinkling of daddy issues right at the top, Dragon. Isn't it great?
Or as a variant for the title, some papa problems.
Papa problems. Yes.
Yeah. So we have our hero here. He is calling his wife, trying. He's calling his wife, and she's telling him he's not being assertive enough, and she's lost some respect for him there, and there's a little bit of Spielberg
because
DNA
his wife
in there.
practically got raped, which is an element of the story that kind of quickly gets pushed under the rug.
I noticed something. Some movies they did love throwing the word rape around. No, seriously, they did. Like I'm looking at.
No, that's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That word was much more liberally used than it is now.
I love the movie time after time. I'm not saying this takes any points off from it, but in Time After Time, there is this one scene that kind of thinks, oh yeah, it was a different time, all right. Where it's like Mary Steenburgen is basically putting the moves on the Malcolm McDowell character on H.G. Wells, and she says, and again, it doesn't age well. But
wait, hold on, McDowell is H.G. Wells.
You didn't listen to a word I said during memoirs, did you?
I mean, Dragon, you go through a lot of stuff on memoirs. It's not that I don't listen. It's just that I have I'm shit at memory, at retaining memory.
I remembered yours.
I'm sorry. I barely remember mine, Dragon.
Anyway. Yes, Tiki, there's this amazing movie I recommend to you called Time After Time.
Okay.
Point being, H.G. Wells, Malcolm McDowell is going to the future to track down Jack the Ripper, played by the wonderful David Warner, who stole the time machine to get out of Dodge, and now he's in 1979 New York.
Okay, that does sound delightful.
It's amazing. Anyway, so Mary Steenburgen's in it, and she's also great, oddly, in another time travel movie, believe it or not. So
Right.
she's putting the movies on H.G. Wells, and basically she's very, she's assertive here, basically, like, like he's a gentleman, he's not making the first move there, and she's kissing him and making kissy face and everything. She's like, are you sure about this? This is Herbert, because he basically goes by his real name. Herbert, I'm practically raping you.
Oh no!
It's one line. It's just one line. It was a different time.
Oh man!
It was the 70s. Right. There's gonna be kind of a runner through this where it was the 70s. There's a little bit of it was the 70s.
Well, I mean, I feel like some instances, like like the smoking in the restaurant, sure, but I feel like this is like by far the most dramatic example of that, though.
That's true. So the point being, there was a guy, probably a company function or something, or a house party that was pawing all over her, and he didn't assert himself. So again, I think there's some parallels maybe of kind of the Spielberg daddy issues in terms of the father was was more of the soft spoken or kind of like wrapped up in his work, for sure, as we saw in the Fablemans and with Arnold Spielberg. In fact, good man, but definitely not the assertive type. You get the sense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's one of the big themes of this movie. Is the guy being pushed to be assertive.
Well, that's the thing. I like that in its core, though, there is still that redemptive factor with Arnold Spielberg, in which he's making the hero out of this character who is a father.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so so all that whole phone call, by the way, was added for the theatrical. There wasn't a call to the wife in the original.
It's funny you mentioned. I could see that it did feel a little tacked on.
Feels like one of those things, like you have a play and when it's adapted, and you turn into a movie. You have to add the scenes of like, well, we got to show it's a movie and not just we can just film like in front of an audience. Wait a minute, The Odd Couple, they walked to that location. We saw them walk to that location. It can't possibly be a stage play.
Right.
All right, so let's talk cinematography.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's crazy just how much like the pan and zoom. I mean, just stylistically, it's all right there. Like it's all prepackaged, ready to go. It's Spielberg style to a T.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet that deep down, I think one of the reasons I really love this is that you and I were huge fans of the Albuquerque verse, and the desert setting surely helps in that. But I mean, the fact that we're fans of the Albuquerque verse, and the Albuquerque verse was widely known for taking the most mundane things and making them the most exciting, tension-filled things you've ever seen. I think there's a lot of that in this movie in terms of like we've taken things that could be mundane or get old real fast. Like the movie's essentially an extended car chase at the end of the day.
Basically, yes.
But is an extended car chase shot in the most exciting yet it's like mundane. It's mundane yet the most exciting angles possible.
Right.
Like they have like the reflection from the rear view mirror, which is like on many of the posters for this movie. You got like a lot of.
I mean, I will say this is a much more engaging movie than Death Proof.
Really, Death Proof is the only Tarantino movie I haven't seen.
I was not a fan of Death Proof.
Was Kurt Russell?
For me, from what I remember, it was a lot of dialogue, which obviously that's like that's a Tarantino. Like obviously, I'm not gonna fault a Tarantino movie for having a lot of dialogue, but I remember it was just like it was very much a when are we gonna get to the fireworks factory? Anyways, like with this movie, it's we get to the fireworks factory right off the bat. We never leave the fireworks factory.
That's true. So, but yeah, we have like all sorts of interesting angles and ways in which we're shooting. Again, the kind of the movie set the tone with the whole POV shots. It was kind of set the tone for we're gonna do a car chase the way you've never seen it before. Like in all sorts of angles. So, speaking of which, we should talk about how we visualize our villain for the piece. Let's talk about the real star. Move over, Dennis Weaver. You're great, but move over. We got to talk about the truck, the Peterbilt.
It is true, yes.
We have a star, and his name is Peterbilt. Yeah.
So, yeah, the truck is just like, honestly, it is up there with like the all-time best Spielberg villains. Seriously. Like the T-Rex, Jaws, the truck. It's like in that same company. It really is. I love just the highly flammable on the back. Like, isn't that such, like, doesn't that just fill you with anxiety?
It does, right? Then that's what's really clever. And of course,
That's what that's my favorite part of the design.
Yeah, it's a forebodingness right from the get go. Think about. I want to like walk through like the design, little subtle design quirks of this truck. Okay, so one has this giant like oil tanker. It says flammable on it. It's huge, wide loads, and this thing is just giant. It's Jaws size. This thing is Jaws sized on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice there's like all the little license plates on the car, Tiki, on the truck. That implies like the other victims. Like basically, Spielberg was going for it's a serial killer with trophies decorating its body.
Okay, that's cool.
Then you have like oil spatter and stuff as it goes forward, and the smoke coming out and everything, and adding
the smoke coming out, man. I mean, goddamn, it's like the pollution that must have rained down during the production of this movie.
It's a dragon on wheels, man.
It seriously is.
So let's see. So also, of course, the best choice and the best directorial choice, and this was in the writing and everything. It was from day one. This was like, okay, we cannot show the driver inside. Like all we're gonna get boots and the arm. That's all we're gonna get.
Yeah, we get a couple like tiny little glances, like here and there, like
yeah,
you know, almost like out of the corner of your eye, little glances.
Yeah. So so it's just the fact that we kind of build it up and there's a mystery of who's driving, and it's kind of a MacGuffin of like, you know, are we going to find the driver? No, it's not. There's no driver, guys. That's it is the truck. And of course, you know,
and I have an answer for who the driver was.
Go on.
It was Man.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, Man. Seriously though, I do think by and large this movie is an allegory for like how shitty people can be to each other, almost randomly at certain points. There is one moment in particular that I feel like very much kind of solidifies that theme for me that we'll get to later. It's about halfway through the movie.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So, I honestly just with the whole premise in general too. I love that it's almost like the Joker's favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, where you know it's basically a guy just kind of cuts the Joker off in traffic, and and of course we know what happens there. So this is the fact that like, all he did was pass him. I can't tell how many times growing up I saw my father do this sort of thing, where it's like he just ticked off being behind a slowpoke and he drives past him, but like never a truck though, you know. So. Passing this truck and like, oh god, what if the truck driver did not appreciate that?
Oh god, Richard's victim says the driver was Ansel Elgort, Spielberg's greatest villain.
But you know what's funny though? It's the fact that the only other time I can think of like such an intimidating truck setup was the opening of Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, for sure. For me, as a horror movie fan, I know that the director of this movie has very much been kind of like canceled out of existence, and I acknowledge that. He's a very scummy guy. But the first Jeepers Creepers very much had a truck that was like this.
Yep.
Do you know about that truck?
No, I just know about the controversy of the director.
Oh, yeah. Like that first movie, I'm not going to say it's a shame about the director because, you know, he's a piece of shit. But, you know, that first movie was genuinely fucking good, though. Anyways. So, yeah.
I have one question.
Go ahead. Sorry.
About Jeepers Creepers, do they ever play the song at any of those?
Yes.
Okay,
very prominently.
Very okay. That's all I wanted to know. Okay.
It's like actually a part of the plot.
I love the idea of using the Jeepers Creepers.
Dragon, there's a moment right at the end. It's oh man. Oh, it's so good.
So, anyway. So here, fun fact. Okay, here's a really cool background fact. While we don't see the driver, so it's funny. The actor who plays the driver throughout all this is the stunt driver. The guy who's actually driving the truck. Now, that guy, he when Spielberg cast him, and this driver essentially asked somewhat of a not really motivation. It's kind of like a script question. Like, he was an older guy, like an older experienced stunt driver. He was like, so why why is the truck driver going after this poor guy so much? Why? And then Spielberg
Because
says,
he's man. No, but seriously, I genuinely do think it's just a kind of like a freak sort of like the way I read it is it's anyone could get into this situation. It's just kind of like the general like how we like I said, Dragon, I kind of read it as almost like a post-Kennedy film. Where it's like it's kind of like it's depicting those sort of like anxieties, especially like because you remember like that one really cool passage in Empire of Dreams where they're talking about blockbusters before Star Wars kind of reflecting the anxieties of the times. I feel like this very much falls in line with that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was getting at, the stunt driver, has this conversation with Spielberg, and the way it's at least written in the tomes of history is that Spielberg says, "Because you're a dirty, rotten, no good SOB." Doing the thing that we kind of saw Sammy Fieldman do is the whole he's helping him get his motivation down essentially because you're a dirty, rotten, no good SOB, and then the driver had this perfect response. He said, "Kid, you've hired the right guy."
Nice.
This guy, seriously, the driver is awesome here. I really should try looking up his name because I blanked on his name because
I can look that up for you.
Look at his name. This guy's good. It begins with a K.
Anyway,
but this guy he essentially does he's the stunt driver, so he's doing all the driving and everything here and all the fancy moves because remember this movie's going to be really hard to shoot in terms of planned choreography. They had to use a map and everything and literally map out like the shooting schedule.
Kerry Lofton.
Kerry Lofton?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kerry Lofton, he's the stunt driver. He basically is playing. He's kind of the man in our villain of the piece. Let's see. So, but you're right though. It is like it's like an incidental little thing. But again, those license plates imply to me the guy's just a disturbed individual, kind of like the Joker, just looking for looking for the victim. He's just looking again. The idea with Joker's favor is that it's modeled after like a comedian looking for a victim in a comedy club. So in this case, it's like this is a guy who's just looking for someone to pass him so he can follow him and make him a victim. Like he's just he's. Maybe his name's Richard. Who knows? But no. But seriously, you see what I mean? It's the fact that all those license plates implies this guy is, for all we know, he's a killer. At the very least, he's causing car wrecks, and he's making mayhem. For all we know, but you're right. It's vague though. It's ambiguous. It could be it could be anything.
Okay, it is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but can I point out the one moment in the movie that really that's kind of like a gut punch for me and makes it feel very personal?
What?
The moment where the truck driver helps the school bus.
Oh yeah.
Because that to me, man, that is the gut punch where it's like, oh fuck. I mean, this guy, like, this isn't just a lunatic who's just going to go after anybody.
It's psychological
warfare. Focused on me.
It's psychological warfare.
Yeah. Oh god.
Plus, I mean, the most intimidating parts are like when he's just waiting there and he knows he has.
Oh, totally.
One of the greatest moments is when we just have a character who's an arm, a pair of boots, and that's it. It's when he motions like that. So, hey, come on, pass me. Come on,
right.
Pass me. So let's talk about Chuck's Diner.
Okay, this for me.
Chuck's Cafe. Sorry, Chuck's Cafe.
This for me is the best scene in the movie. As cool as all the driving stuff is, I fucking love the conceit of there's like 3 or 4 guys at the bar. One of them is the driver. And he doesn't know which. It's so Hitchcockian, Dragon. It's so Hitchcockian.
So here's the kind of interesting reader. So Spielberg. It sounds like Spielberg kind of said that, based on what we see with speculating, I don't know if he confirmed this or not. If it's just like viewer speculation after all the years that the driver wasn't even in there.
Right. Yeah.
Here's how there's actually a little bit of evidence that suggests that you can tell that the driver wasn't in there at all. Is that driver does not have sleeves, or at the very least the sleeves are rolled up or something. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't have sleeves.
There's also the fact that he drives, like the truck drives off, and you don't see anyone exiting the restaurant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is the fact that, then again, he was distracted during that fight. So if he slipped out, he possibly slipped out then. But then, I don't know if he did the head count or not, because I didn't. So I don't. Regardless, the whole sleeve thing suggests that he wasn't in there from the start. But he was so wigged out he didn't notice.
Yeah, and let's talk about the inner narration, because
Yeah,
I
I did
will
not care
say
for
that
that.
is one of my nitpicks of the movie.
Yeah, it happens too late. That's the
But
problem.
I do think for this one scene, it works really well.
Well, here's the thing. While I don't want the narration, I do need that. I do really like that the POV predictive kind of like what the what if situation. He goes up to each of these drivers and he's getting like kind of a different response. Like that aspect of it is great, but that's not necessarily inner monologue. So we don't that kind of makes me stand firm that we don't necessarily need that inner monologue. But if we had it, it's a shame we couldn't have started from earlier in the movie.
So like I said, I think it works the best in this diner scene, and I honestly think that later on in the movie, I feel like it's a little distracting,
Yeah,
specifically because it kind of like goes back and forth between him talking to himself and the inner monologue. And I think they should have just stuck to him talking to himself.
yeah.
Especially because there's some really powerful acting moments where he's genuinely just like screaming in frustration.
Oh yeah. Also, I just love like the little intricacies of like when he crashes, the guy's not mad about the fence. He's like, "Are you okay?" Like, yeah, he's very panicked. "No, I'm okay." Just he's invited in. He's getting some water and everything and all that. Then it goes so wrong once he identifies the wrong driver.
Man, and it's like he spends so much time like just trying to get up the courage, like you said, like going through the different scenarios and different people and approaching them. And then it's like when he actually does it, it just goes as wrong as it possibly could.
Yep. Just
And
cut it
Dragon, it's
out.
like you say that this movie is very much your driving anxiety, and I feel that, except I don't drive, so I can't fully feel that.
Let's just say I don't drive often, Tiki, and for good reason.
That's fair. This scene is my social anxiety fears personified, Dragon. Where it's like even if it's something as much as like like I'm trying to like approach someone, like like I go to these meetups sometimes, but I'm not actually sure which people are there. Like I'm not actually sure which people are there for the meetups, and so it's like that's very much like even approaching them like, hey, are you here for the meetup? I go through the exact same scenario of like running through the scenes in my head. Anyways.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, in that diner though, so again, I love this the way he slaps that sandwich out of that guy's hand. Though, I gotta be honest.
I also love that was like kind of like the last straw with that guy was the sandwich. Hey, you can hit me, but when you slap my sandwich, it's personal.
Yep, he slapped that guy's sandwich. Let's see. So, yeah, so then we have like scene where he gets into the fight with the guy, and I love he built some goodwill with the owner of the diner, or Chuck, I guess, and then he's like, "You get out of here." It's like, oh, it's like,
Yeah, right.
okay, so let's talk about the bus driver scene. So, this bus driver scene was added for the whole theatrical run. I'm not saying they went back and
Kind of
shot extra
feels like
stuff.
it. Kind of feels like it. Although, like I said, I do think that the actual scene goes on a little too long. Although I do like the payoff of the hood, where it's like at first he really doesn't want anyone getting on the hood, but then as the scene progresses, he's desperately jumping up and down on the hood. I do like that progression. That's fun. But like I said, I just think the gut punch of this scene really is the truck driver is a good citizen to the school kids.
Yeah.
I don't know why that disturbs me so much. It's like, honestly, part of it is just kind of like the whole idea that evil can just be hiding in plain sight. You know what I mean?
I love that tunnel shot. Really is great, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's the thing. I love that. A lot
Also,
of
these kids are little shits. I'm just going to say it.
Well, that's what I was getting at here. So we have a lot of interesting aspects to this scene here. So like the bus driver is very irresponsible. You have the kids in the bus. There's like we're showing the kids the most annoying life possible, just to eat away at the man's sanity. And I love it. He calls out, "No, we're gonna get stuck." Says, no, it'll be fine. Of course, the moment that guy said, "No, give it a shot," he's gonna get stuck. It's not
Exactly, right.
But here's the thing: the character's a father, so he sees these kids getting out of the bus, and he sees that truck, and fear strikes him because, oh god, these kids are going to get killed because of because of me. I don't want that to happen. So he's in a panic. Like I love, he's just desperately like just jumping up and down on the car. But still, him saying like, "No, get him in. This is dangerous. That truck's gonna hit him." If someone says that truck's gonna hit him, I think at the very least they get him on the bus.
I was very frustrated with the bus driver during that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. You see how intimidating that truck is.
Yeah, and of course, just still, the truck gets to be the hero because the truck gets.
Again, there's something just very, very like insidious about that.
Yeah, I look and see how it sticks in his craw.
All
right, so speaking of big scary scenes, let's talk about the snake lady scene.
Okay, the snake lady scene I think is like for me the most funny moment in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's a good moment, but it's also like just the entertainment of the snake lady. Like, why did he ruin my cages? What is the line?
I don't know if she just says my snakes.
No, it's something about like he crashed into my cages.
Like, yeah, man, that sounds right, Tiki. It sounds about like he crashed into my. Why did he do it? Why did he crash into my cages? And then she later has a phone of like call the police. With what phone?
But yeah, the shot of him in the phone booth and then the truck coming towards the phone booth and him jumping out. I mean, that is like probably the money shot of the movie or one of them.
It's like Jaws like eating the orca, man. It's like he's, it's or like really, I guess Jaws popping out of the water. It's very much kind of a jump scare sort of moment. It's the very last segment. Here's what's crazy, Tiki. The way they shot this. That is Dennis Weaver in that phone booth, and Tiki. This is not. There's no stuntman. This is done entirely in camera. So what's happening is the safety protocols in the 70s were not great, especially for a TV movie. So Dennis Weaver is actually in that phone booth, and the only prayer he has of not dying is there's like a little like hidden signal that happens like a while back. The truck's gonna like pass over something's gonna like give him a signal or something, and he'll have to jump out of that right on cue.
Oh man! God,
that is insane.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing that's gonna be even more insane. We're gonna get to it.
Okay.
So yeah, but still, that to me was like the biggest jump scare I had. And we were like, oh god, it's like I knew it was gonna like, but the fact that this truck again personified as it is, it's like. There's no calling the cops in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the fact that every time he goes,
there's no cell phones in the 70s, kids.
Every time he goes to call for help or try to get someone to help him, like the truck targets them. It's the fact that the truck. It's the fact that why that moment.
The fact that even if he did call the cops, what the hell are the cops going to do in this situation?
Well, that
he can't even give them an exact location because he's going to be on the move. You know what I mean?
That's very true. Well, then again, there's that kind of that game of wills where if he just stays there,
True.
Now here's the thing, though. What's so impactful about this moment is the fact that it's almost like we're throwing the rules of tag out the window. The whole like this is the safe space, it's like the Continental from John Wick. Nothing bad happens here. It's the fact of like, okay, we're not in our cars, and I'm just getting out here and making my phone calls. Is nope. I'm gonna run you down. I'm gonna try and run you down. That's okay. This is really bad now.
Right.
He's in trouble. So speaking of which, our sound design was also really good in this film. I just want to highlight that too, because we have remember when he's like really kind of out of it and stressed out, like the dropping and the clanging of the silverware. And,
definitely.
When he's just kind of like by the road and the truck just, and the fact that the truck has like a roar sound, like sounds like a monster at times.
Mm-hmm.
And psychological warfare, just like waiting and just like, yeah, come on, buddy, pass me. Go on, or just like waiting and like basically blocking the way so he can't get through the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the other great scenes. I love the train crossing scene. It's obvious, and I love it in every way. I just love the fact that a movie that is inspired by tailgating, and that's essentially what's going on here. Little guy, big truck. What is the most brilliant setup you could have?
It's such a great set piece. It's such a great conceit.
It's also crazy to me. This scene was not in the TV movie cut. It was added for the theater.
Okay, that is crazy. Yeah, that is crazy because this scene is very much kind of like a using every part of the buffalo in a really good way.
That's the thing. So
what can we do with this situation?
It is the
That.
symbol of tailgating, and it's a fear I think a lot of us have here in front of the railroad. The two fears when you come to a train crossing is either being on the track or someone pushing you onto the track.
Right, right.
So it's the fact that that truck that's been bullying you the whole movie is like inching you towards the thing, and you're hanging on for dear life to the oncoming train that's going to render you in twain. Yeah. Anyway, so it was just utterly terrifying and suspenseful. I mean, here's the thing. I kind of see the logic. Well, there's no logic in cutting it, but I can see like that it is. I can see how it might be removable in terms of like it's a scene that it is very self-contained. It's great for the course of the movie and plays into everything. It's a standout scene. You need it for sure, but it does feel like okay. So if we did reconfigure, you still have enough like the truck being menacing throughout the movie, and we there is another scene with the train tracks, but not nearly as great as this scene. So I kind of get it, but thank goodness the theatrical cut exists.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about the old couple?
Yeah, really quick. I do have one note. The moment where he, where he kind of like sits and wait for about an hour, and then the train wakes him up. Dragon, that is the one moment where I kind of feel like there was a missed opportunity, because how cool would it have been if the train passes him by, he's waiting for the train to pass so we can cross, and then the fucking truck is right there.
Yeah.
You know what moment I'm talking about, right?
I know the moment you're talking about. Oh, yeah.
Like, that was the one time in the movie where I was kind of, like, expecting the truck to be there, and I was a little disappointed when it wasn't. Because it's like, oh, I see you. You've been taking a nap, but I've been right here the whole time. All right. Yeah, let's talk about the old... I mean, this old couple, man, this wife just will not have any of this shit.
Yeah, so the things we have this old couple, and they just kind of he's begging desperately for assistance. He basically just call the cops. It's a very reasonable request, actually. Please call the police.
As soon as she hears "call the cops," she's out.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, here's I wonder if there's like here's maybe like a side plot in the really extended version of this movie. This old couple, they're interspliced throughout the whole movie, and they've committed a crime and they don't want to be caught. That's
oh my god!
They've robbed the bank or something. Like, cops, we're not calling the cops. Hit them. Like, roll the window up.
I mean, honestly, the way that she reacts to it, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if that was the headcanon.
So, let's see. Anyway, so he's begging to call the cops. A very reasonable request, especially given all that's happened here. And like, crazy or no, it's like just call the cops, folks. Come on. Anyways, of course, as he asked, I love the fact this couple was in jeopardy as the truck was just backing up ferociously. Like, oh god. It's on to him, and it's targeting other people now. Egad, it was targeting the snakes, and now this.
Right.
By the way, the snakes, more Spielbergisms here, a little precursor, little prognostication.
Yeah. Good.
Little prognostication for Indiana Jones, but also there were spiders, so a little bit of little that too, little spiders.
Mm-hmm. I do like the tarantula stunt.
Yeah, the tarantula. I mean, yeah. Also, fun Easter egg. The fake out with the cop car. He thinks he's finally found the police. But
that was fun.
So apparently there's an Easter egg in that. So the name of the pest control thing, it's Spielberg backwards.
Really?
Yeah, it's I'm gonna read it off here. Grebel speaks.
Oh my god!
I'm not. I think I butchered that, but Grebel.
Okay, that's crazy. I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, so all of this leads to our big cliffside climax here, where first of all, it's in terms of backgrounds they built to it here. Tiki, so the whole duration of this movie, because the TV budget, you ordinarily when you shoot a movie that involves cars like Back to the Future, you have multiple DeLoreans, you have multiple cars, because if stuff's going to happen, because of course that's your main focal point. If it happens to that car, you're really sunk, so you're going to need extras of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a miracle that this truck does all that it did in this
Very
movie.
much so. Yes,
So
absolutely.
here's the thing: they had really one truck. I mean, they had a backup. The problem is the engine in the backup didn't work. So all they had was the truck that you see in the movie doing all the stuff. Like the hero truck is doing all this stuff. And it's a miracle that they're doing all these driving stunts. These two cars, not really any backups. I mean, I don't know if there was a backup on the red car. I highly doubt it. So these cars, man, they built them back in the '70s, man. They're built like
This is
tanks back
true.
then.
This is very true. Yeah.
Yeah, no cheap plastic or like electrical parts these days. You know. Anyway, so we have this bit where remember how he turns so sharply and he crashes into the fence. There's like blood in his mouth. Did you notice that detail?
Yeah, I did notice that. That's actually one of the very few things that I kind of like. Like, how exactly does that happen? That he gets.
I know, right? I mean, I think what happened.
You don't know? Like, yeah, I feel like that's one of the very few kind of logic leaps in the movie.
Well, I mean, I think the logic's there. It's like it's just super realistic in terms of if you're turning at that high a speed and you're kind of go. He's very tense. He's like clinching up, and basically if you're like white knuckling it and you hit like a fence, and mainly you're I just the suddenness and the sharpness of the turn. I think he's bit his lip really hard. I think that's what happened.
Okay.
I think it's a very realistic thing you never see anywhere, but I think that's what happened.
And then, of course, Dragon, this movie comes equipped with its very own matchstick moment.
Yep. Yep. You think? Oh, you mean the literal, basically, our thing that does not explode, right?
I mean, just like he's going along, and then oh no!
Well, go on, tell him. Oh no, what?
Well, Dragon, that's the thing with this scene. I'm not a car guy, so I can't really. I have a hard time explaining or even.
Well, I think you mean the car is breaking down, right? You mean the car is like starting to break down and smoke.
The car is starting to break down. Yes. Dragon, do you know exactly? Like I watched it twice. Like I said, I'm not a car guy. How exactly does he solve this by putting it into neutral? How exactly does that solve the issue?
I'm sorry, T. I'm not really the one to ask about that.
Okay, I kind of figured you wouldn't be, but
I'm more a body guy than the internal stuff of the car.
That makes sense. Yeah.
This is Marty McFly hitting his head on the steering wheel. I can't really tell you.
I don't know anyone in the. I don't think anyone's in the comments right now. But if anyone knows, I would be interested. Like, how does putting a car in neutral stop the car from breaking down? Because in this case, it very much seemed like putting the car in neutral was kind of like the Popeye spinach.
We had this great hero shot where he's like basically he's using the briefcase to hold it down. He's basically driving on the outside of the car while he's like outside the door, which looks really good.
There's two things about this finale that I love in terms of like him outsmarting the truck. One is I love the fact that he takes the chase specifically to the cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the whole, like, the trucks have to be careful navigating, and he can be a little bit more, he can be a little bit more wily on the turns.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, like, like you said, the whole fake out of, I love the truck's demise, where he rams into the car without realizing that that the guy's not in the car, and then just it blowing up and blocking his vision, so he drives over the cliff. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have some interesting tidbits about the actual stunt.
Oh, yes, I do, sir. So, the death of the
by the way, is very much like the ultimate Sammy Fableman filming the train crash.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, God,
very
yes.
much so, right?
Yeah. It's not a train, but it's the next best thing.
It involves a train. Well, I should say train was involved in the movie.
It was. You're right. Yeah. So this is the money shot galore here, of course. Honestly, I would go as far as to say this is the money shot that made Spielberg's career.
I could see it. Yeah.
The collision, even like so, when the thing goes over the side there. So here's what happened. So, do you remember that Curie? Remember what the guy's last name was? Curie.
Oh, shoot. Hold on. Let me Google again. I'm sorry. It was Carrie Lofton.
Kerry Lofton. So what Kerry Lofton's doing here is this is insane. They only, as you know, this scene here, they only had one shot to do it in. Only
Yeah,
once.
that's what was running through my mind the whole damn time.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Back to the Future. Look, when they did Back to the Future 3 with that, the train going off into the ravine. I mean, that was something they didn't want to have to do again. But that was like a fiberglass train. That was like a really impressive model from a distance. So I mean, that wasn't them actually crashing a train. A lot of people asked about that. So this was actually the truck going over the edge, going over the
That's
side.
fucking crazy.
Now the way they did this is even crazier. So, Kerry here. Kerry Lofton, he's in the truck, and they only have one shot to do this, and so he is actually doing this, Tiki. He's actually what they did is it's insane, but so the red car has no one in it. The red car has no one in it, but the truck as it goes forward, he has it rigged like pretty much like, almost like the briefcase thing, but probably more official, like mechanism of sorts.
Right, yeah.
He has it's set up so when he's a distance away, there might be a little bit of a perspective thing going on there. It's a little bit though, then it's still really close. He has to jump out of that because he's a stunt man. He's a stunt driver, so it's a stunt, but it's dangerous like most stunts. He has to jump out of that thing at the last possible minute before it goes over the edge. And he was even tasked with this, and he wasn't able to fully do this. He had to jump out. His intention was to jump out, and with his foot on the way out, shut the door so it looks like no one jumped.
Oh, that's insane.
Now, unfortunately,
honestly, the foot on the way out shoving the door is like the most insane part of that equation.
Now that he wasn't able to do it. If you freeze frame, you'll see the door is open. Some people argue is sequel bait, like, oh my god.
right.
Still around that. However, though, in the movie, you'll see there is a little bit of spattering of blood in there. It's very faint, along with like the oil spattered. That is like a fill-in for blood. So the implication that the driver is in fact dead. It's like a little Easter egg of like, okay, but that's just to show you though a guy actually did jump out of that truck. That is proof of that though. How by safety standards?
God, no! I mean, forget about it, dude. That's honestly like why CGI is such a big, prevalent part of the industry right now. You cannot get away with shit like that.
Again, that's 70s for you, man. You can only get away with it in the 70s. Something a feat that crazy, and that's like Spielberg in his early days. That's the only way you can get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
So as he jumped out, the whole thing went over in this great money shot, and they shot it with 6 cameras, and only one camera got the shot.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, basically got the money shot. It got it in that perfect way. Everything else would have been like not right. The only one camera got the shot just the way it was needed.
That's crazy.
So we have that slow-mo fall and everything, and then we have just the slow, agonizing death of the truck, in which we see like the little fan go out. We see like the blood and oil drops, mainly the oil dropping like blood. The personified truck dying, and the headlights going out, and then the tires slowing to a crawl is like the heartbeat of the car, and then. So this happens, and it's a beautiful, agonizing death, and then we're just going to end with like the exhausted sunset shot, which is great, and also Spielberg lighting at play.
And also, I just want to point out like the last reaction shot from Weaver here. Very much calls to mind for me Sammy Fabelman directing the Kid in the War movie.
Yeah.
Almost a little bit of like. By all means, not to the same extent, but it's got a little bit of Captain Phillips energy of like, holy shit, what did I just go through? Okay.
No, but anyways, I'm sorry. Here's the thing: of course, famously, the story is the studio, because of the flamble that's written on the truck, the whole movie, they expected, I think, reasonably, an explosion when it goes over. But then,
where's the kaboom? That was supposed to be a big, earth-shattering kaboom.
Anyway, so yeah, there was supposed to be a big explosion. The studio said, "Okay, look, we love the movie. It turned out great. We're going to give you some extra money so you can go back and reshoot it and add in the explosion." Which already sounds crazy. It means, I wonder if that means they'd have to go as far as we have to get the Peterbilt truck, we have to take it over the side, we have to nearly kill Laughlin again.
Oh, God.
But no. So Spielberg, he dug his heels and like, no, I want a slow, agonizing death to the truck. I'm not reshooting it. You want
I
to reshoot
really
it?
like that. I
Get
really
another
respect
director,
that.
and he was
Yeah.
doing it that early in his career. That's bold.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and then because you don't expect it, it went the indie route with it. I mean, Indiana. It feels kind of Indiana Jones, but no, they went the indie route with it. You don't expect the truck to have like a slow, agonizing personal death.
Uh-huh.
There's a satisfying death too after everything we put poor Dennis Weaver through.
Sure.
Yeah. And again, we had overall, what I like though in the transition of the Spielberg stuff is that this movie overall does feel very like a graduated version of Amblin on the way to Sugarland Express. So it's kind of a mid ground between the two.
No, it does. It does for sure. It's definitely a lot more refined than Amblin was.
But Amblin is like we're using the same kind of locale, and we're using highways, and we're using the sun like we do in Amblin, that last shot. But yeah, we're going to get more ambitious and more theatrical with the Sugarland Express. But again, it's an art film like an Amblin. It's an indie, very much an indie movie like Amblin feels. But again, we're getting more ambitious with the story and like how we can possibly shoot this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Well, that's all
Right.
Matheson wrote.
Well, I mean, I don't even know how to. I mean, with final thoughts, like I said, I just think it's a really cool sort of double feature with the Fabelmans because, like, everything that you see Sandy Fabelman being talented in as a young director in the Fabelmans is very much stuff that is very on display in this movie. Like, I feel like it bleeds right from the Fabelmans into this movie stylistically, which is, like, honestly, it makes me respect the Fabelmans even more now that I've seen this. So yeah, it's a hell of a first movie.
Unequivocally.
All right.
So, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was like, okay, that's one word. Final thoughts. All right.
No. I stalled for a second there, but yeah, seriously, Duel is it lived up to the hype tenfold. Again, it's great to see. We really get to see Spielberg transition as a filmmaker in all the ways you kind of want to. Again, it's really early Spielberg is such an interesting point in time because you get to see the building blocks and all this building to Jaws, like the biggest, like the thing that made his career. But so it's like him getting his foot in the door in a major way. This is just. Again, Spielberg delivering on like an intimate character story and shot in the most exciting cinematic way possible. We're getting like the style of Spielberg in which like we get all these money shots that count, but it's not about the whammo blammo of the shots. It's about the journey and getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is again, it is a heck of a splash to make even before Jaws. It's a heck of a splash to make for our young filmmaker. So yeah, and of course, in Spielberg month here again, it's so satisfying finally getting here. Just after the journey, seeing we started with Jaws and we're in our last legs here, going
literally 7 years in the making. Yeah,
going to the proto Jaws.
All right. Well, big thanks to Little Blue and Richard's Victims for joining us in the comments. Next time will be Sugarland Express, which I am very much looking forward to. Because I know next to nothing about it, so that is a very interesting area to be in with a Spielberg movie. All right, folks, we'll stay tuned until next time when we round out this cinematic odyssey through one man's career in the next thrilling installment of Spielberg Mom.
Look out, Stanley!
Why'd he ruin my cake?